on myself there saying I don't think that's quite correct. Guillaume, you can correct us, but
sounds good.
Guillaume is from Paris, I believe. You're certainly in France, but in Paris specifically. So Ethan and I have been spending our entire prep time just trying to pronounce his name, and clearly that's as good as I could get. not quite up to par, but Guillaume is friendly enough to give me a pass for that. Anyway, we're not here to talk too much about names. We're going to talk about business ideas, and Guillaume has brought one to us today about multi-channel inboxes. Excited to dig into it. He has a lot of experience in the email world, building Lemlist from nothing, completely bootstrapped to 20 million to, well, not 20 million, 4 million ARR. soon, yeah. 4 million ARR. So it'll be fun to get into this. And yeah, this is behind the scenes.
6 million, right? Wait, what is
actually,
it now?
Now we're at 8. Yeah.
Like wow!
Oh man, 8. Yeah, so it's
wait for it. Oh, now we're at 9. Look at
that. Yeah. Time flies.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, we so this is behind the scenes of the Run With It podcast. Listen to the published episode coming out next Thursday. It'll be all edited, condensed for clarity. And somehow our reading of Guillaume's name will be auto-tuned, just corrected in some way. Ari, we're going to put that on you to figure that out and make it sound good. If you guys are ready, we can get into the episode itself.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Welcome to Run With It, the show that brings you untapped business ideas from successful entrepreneurs. My name is Chris Justin, and I'm here with Ethan Janney. Ethan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm thinking about name pronunciations because our guest today has a name that we've been discussing the pronunciation of for many minutes. We could mispronounce it as Guillaume Moubeche, but I will pronounce it correctly when I do the introduction. But I always like people spell my name wrong all the time, and I used to not care. But I think I'm going to start drawing the line. And if somebody misspells my name, especially in an email, my name is Eathan. If they drop that first A, I'm just going to be like, that's a sign, man. That's my brown M&Ms. You know what I mean?
You cut them out of your life completely.
Up to par. Yeah, forget it. You can't hang. But yeah, let's talk to our guest here. I'm going to pronounce his name correctly, I believe, right now that I'm mounting pressure for myself. His name is Guillaume Moubeche. And he is from France, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Lemlist, a personalized cold email sequencing software. In 3 years, Lemlist went from 0 to $8 million, and wait for it, $9 million in revenue. No, it's at 8, but it's been climbing since we last checked the figures. It was at 6 in his most recent bio. So he's growing and doing some cool stuff. That's 8 million ARR right now, 10,000 plus customers worldwide. And they did this all without any funding, unless you got funding since we last saw your figures.
Still no funding.
Still no funding. Awesome. Good stuff. Now you came on the show. You've been doing things in cold email outreach, and you came up with an idea that had something to do with taking all inbound messaging and having one place to put it. Chris,
it's a centralized multi-channel inbox to manage customer communications. So I think aggregating Facebook Messenger, email, WhatsApp, text, etc. And this is big business. The total addressable market in 2020 was $20.5 billion for contact center software. It's adjacent, maybe a significant overlap with what we're talking about, with a projected compound annual growth rate of 21% through 2028. So it's going to be big. It's already big. It's going to get much bigger. The businesses that really need this are small and medium-sized businesses. Many large enterprises already have software similar to this, but small and medium-sized businesses are still picking this up. And I know personally for me,
that 100% growth rate over a handful of years is just going to be due to inflation.
Could be.
Could be.
Are you trying to steer us to crypto already?
No, I'm just saying. I'm just like trying to, it's funny, like we throw out numbers and I feel like I'm taking on the responsibility to like not just like let us listen to numbers and then move on and try to actually comprehend what the heck it is. I mean, what was that, 20.5 billion or something?
20.5 billion in 2020,
Yeah.
growing 21% per year.
Yeah, these are astronomical numbers. It's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, whatever.
Well, I was going to throw a personal anecdote for me. We signed up for a food delivery service called Cook Unity, which
I can't believe, and you're paying $20.5 billion for that food service. This is ridiculous, Chris.
It's
what
really
are you doing
good
with your money?
Private chefs in New York. They're not sponsoring the show, but I really like the food. But I hate their delivery. FedEx has been absolutely horrid. 3 out of the 8 times that we've ordered, we actually haven't received the food because FedEx just lost it. They said it was damaged, whatever. Anyway, it made me think of this idea because the primary means in which I interact with the Cook Unity folks is via text. And I find that to be incredibly convenient, saying, hey, I didn't get my order again. It softens the blow a little bit for it. At least I don't have to call them in, go through a phone tree, share all my information, end up saying representative after 2 minutes, share all my information again. And then so all that is way better. And I think that's, let's get into this idea. Let's get into this idea itself. I'm excited to talk about those aspects.
I'm sorry, I got to cut you off real quick before we jump in here with Guillaume. I know he's like chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I know. We haven't let him talk at all.
We're stalling longer than we typically do. But did you look up Territory Foods for your food delivery?
I haven't, but I will.
You gotta check it out, man. Those are my buddies.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
How many food sponsors do you have, guys, like for the podcast?
We like to eat. I don't know what to say, Guillaume. We're Americans.
Okay, right? It's time for some Baskin and Robbins. I love my Baskin and Robbins.
Yeah. What made you come up with this idea, Guillaume?
To be entirely honest, like my segmentation was not only on customer support, but more on the sales side. And essentially, like I receive a lot of messages on LinkedIn. And I find the inbox on LinkedIn like really like terrible. Like it's the worst user experience ever. You can't find anything. You can't search for things. And then eventually, like I also have like a lot of clients that I met in Facebook groups. So I chat with them over Messenger. And whenever I'm trying to like find conversation with previous clients or try to centralize everything, even like push it into a CRM, I just can't find the information. And to me, like having an inbox where everything would be centralized, where you could have actually like a really like fast experience, because we're losing like a lot of time with LinkedIn inbox where you have very few shortcuts, or Messenger where everything is limited. And my goal was essentially okay, I need to find this type of document. I'm wasting so much time like searching for something, and I'm also losing a lot of leads on LinkedIn because I can't answer every message because I lost some. So I was like, okay, like let's have something. Like I deal very well with my emails. I'm a pro inbox zero fan. So I'm like, okay, I need to have something that would essentially be similar, maybe like to a Gmail, but that would centralize all my messages, and I would definitely like pay for it. So it started from a personal need.
Would you pay $20.5 billion? That's the question.
Maybe not the whole amount, but still like I would pay like up to like 20 or 40 bucks, like for something like that.
Tell me about, sorry, I just got to cut you off because it's something that interests me. You said Inbox Zero fan. Inbox Zero is not an app, right? At this point, it's just a term, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially like trying to end up like the day with 0 message in your inbox.
How the hell do you do that? Because I think I have 6,578, unread emails in my inbox right now. Like, what are you doing to make that
I think
happen?
it's just a matter of, like being consistent in the way you deal with emails. So I check my emails like 2 times per day, and I usually spend like 2 hours in total. I have learned to say no quickly, which saved me like tons of time. Because, like sometimes you read an email and you're like, it's a maybe. So to me, it's like either fuck yes or fuck no, and it's like, there is no like middle ground. So emails that I don't use, or when I know that I need to answer later, I just snooze for like X days, and the rest is archived. So my inbox is super clean, and I think it's very peaceful for my mind, but it's just, like everyone deals with his email the way they want.
I'm so sorry. I mean, this is probably like listeners probably have no interest in this at all. But like, so do you delete emails a lot? Do you save emails a lot? Like,
No, so every time an email is read, there is a rule that archived it automatically.
what's the difference? Sorry, guys, I'm geeking out about email here. What's the difference between archiving and just leaving it as a read
No,
message?
it's like if I read it and I answer, so every time I read a message, if it's like, I don't know, if it's spam, it goes to spam. If it's something like where I answer all my emails. So essentially like if it's a genuine emails and you're asking something from me, I will either say yes or no, but I will answer it. And once you answered, it's archived essentially. Like,
and
so
when
I
you
don't
say
see it from my
archived,
inbox.
When you say archive, do you mean just like it's left in, or is there a specific function called archiving that you actually do?
Sorry. So on G Suite, you have like this archive function. It's not deleting the email. It's just put it into a separate folders. Okay. So essentially, I have my inbox. Inbox are the mails that I haven't read or answered yet. And then when the mail has been read and there is an answer, it goes to archived. That way it's like clean interface. And I just see essentially kind of as task,
Okay, got it. I'm sorry, guys. We have someone with an $8 million annual revenue company here, and I want to ask them about email management, but I couldn't resist. Chris, tell me about
I want to talk about some of the competitors here. Guillaume, you mentioned a few that we brought up a few that are attempting this in some fashion. One is Front App, but it wasn't clear to me what the issue was with using them. And let me just back up and say Front App, their stated purpose is to do exactly what we're saying here, where they're managing email, SMS text, live chat, WhatsApp, etc., in one application called Front. But you don't like this application for whatever reason. Tell us about that.
No, it's just like for me, they don't take the biggest pain. So first thing first is Front App or Intercom or all these type of tools. They are like, like multi-channel, but they are more like used for support and not really for sales, which in my mind is a tool that I will build for salespeople, meaning that salespeople or founders or people who just are having like too many conversations with prospects and not already clients, and that they want to find like this conversation and potentially synchronize everything with their CRM. And what
are some of the challenges? Yeah, tell us about the challenges between those two. So why doesn't a support-based one work for a sales-based outreach method?
So essentially, like the way like support team are like managed is like they receive inbound like questions or like problems they need to solve, and they usually deal with this in terms of tickets. So it's like a ticketing type of thing, which means that they can share it between like teammates, etc., etc. Whereas in sales or whenever you're like a CEO, what you need is to manage your own conversations. So you don't really like always work as a team whenever you're sharing like all these type of things. And on top of it, it's just the interface is kind of like different in the way you do things, because you wouldn't connect it with your CRM, you wouldn't push it like into the same like in the same type of pipe, etc., etc. And to me, like what those tools are missing mainly is that they are not integrating, for example, with LinkedIn, which for me it would be like if I would start like, for example, a MVP, so like the first like minimum viable product, it would just be, for example, like something simple to develop, like it would be like to build like a Chrome extension, for example, that will help you put all your messages from LinkedIn directly into your Gmail inbox and kind of like pimp it. So it's you would have like those two channels linked, which are the two main channels used by sales. And then after that, I would add other channels and try to build on it. But to me, like the biggest pain here is the LinkedIn inbox, and no one has pretty much like addressed it. And LinkedIn team, I guess, like they're not just working.
Do you happen to know if LinkedIn's API allows you to do that?
So that's also a challenge. It's like you wouldn't have to go through LinkedIn API to do that. You can do it on kind of like the automation, web-based automation. LinkedIn is not like a super fan of this type of things. And that's why, they don't have like really a lot of things on their API. However, in the last, like lawsuit they had with a company called, I forgot the name, but essentially like they kind of lost. So that company was automating some task on LinkedIn, etc. And LinkedIn kind of tried to sue them. but essentially they lost because, you know, like scraping or even automating tasks on website is technically allowed. So
to be clear, this idea, it wouldn't necessarily allow you to send the messages directly from the app. It would just allow you to know where all the messages are, and you'd have to go back to LinkedIn to send it because the API doesn't exist.
No. Even if you don't have an API, you can do that easily. It's not an issue. It's just a matter of.
So you're saying you are, legally and contractually with LinkedIn, you actually are allowed to automate tasks. It's just they don't make it easy for you by providing an API.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, there are services I have heard of, and it does sound like it's like people have to do workarounds to make it work. But basically, kind of what you're doing with email in LinkedIn, like having a system where they set up a software where you can have automated follow-up sequences and things like that in LinkedIn. But I haven't seen much of that. I did a Google search. I don't even know whether this service does that, but they came up when I searched for LinkedIn, messaging automation called Waalaxy, Waalaxy. They may be a competitor of yours. I don't know. Your multi-channel prospecting automated. But from what I've heard just through the grapevine, there's people who are coming up with services to automate things on LinkedIn. It's an interesting market because people want it for sure. And you're not even talking about automating it. You're just talking about access, right? I think exactly. I totally agree with that.
Better interface.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to talk about a couple of the other competitors in here because I think it's important to look at the landscape and where people are going. You can see what they've done so far and predict that potentially some of these folks are going to take on LinkedIn and expand further, right? Twilio comes to mind. They recently purchased Segment, which was valued at $1.5 billion at its last raise, and they paid $3.2 billion for it in an all-stock deal. They did that at the end of last year. They also purchased SendGrid a couple years ago, back in 2018, for $2 billion. Twilio, it seems like, is heading in this direction where they are trying to manage communication across all channels. They started out very API-centric, and you need to have a computer science degree in order to be able to use the platform. At least it felt like that to me. But now they're moving more to a more polished front end that anyone can use. So it seems like, Twilio is one. There's another company out there, Intercom. We talked about them. They are much more user-friendly, in my opinion, at least at this point, but they're also expanding their offering to be able to do similar things like this. So they may be heading in this direction of taking on LinkedIn. But with your experience, that doesn't scare me. I really was excited to talk to you about this because Lemlist is a cold email tool that was started in 2018, that you started in 2018. Cold email has been around for much longer than that. You would think, all right, is there room for someone new to come in and grow to 8 million ARR in just a few years? And you've proven that you can do this. So, how do you think about this new opportunity? And feel free to share some examples from Lemlist.
So first of all, I think when there is no competitors, it's not always a good sign, because there are 7 billion human beings on Earth, so there is the chances that someone had the same idea as yours are really, really high. And to me, the more competitors are on the market, the more the product market fit has been proven. And it's actually sometimes a great opportunity to just launch in a crowded market with a strong differentiator. And a differentiator can either be, a segment, it can be your niche, it can be just a few features that you want to expand. And for us, with Lemlist, we just started from the initial issue. People were not getting enough reply rate whenever they were changing, launching their sales prospecting campaign. So we tried to add on-top personalization to make people get more replies. So we added videos, personalized images, etc. And then later on, we extended to actually multi-channels. So on Lemlist, you can actually do both email, LinkedIn, etc. in your sales prospecting. But the truth is to me, whenever you have a crowded market like this, you just need to find the right positioning. And even though for me, Intercom, Front App, etc. are really well positioned on the support side, And I think like both Intercom and Front are like head-to-head competitors, even though Front is like much smaller. And I think Intercom is trying to go after Zendesk. And later on, they might go after like any of the big players in the CRM space, because obviously like that's why they're trying to head off. But for, you know, like inboxing and really like trying to build a new type of inbox, I think there is still room. Like and the reason why most people don't do it is because, as you were mentioning, you know, like LinkedIn doesn't have like an API, an open API, and it's something, you know, like that's taking time, etc. So yeah, some people just don't launch, but I still see like a few MVPs out there that are starting, you know, to emerge, and but nothing very spectacular yet.
So quick question, because you mentioned Lemless does do engagement with LinkedIn and does kind of do the outreach. So basically you're saying but you can't do what you, or, you know, maybe you could, but you don't do what you're suggesting that we do. You don't have like an inbox.
No.
You just have a way of reaching out, and then people have to go kind of follow up with the final messaging within LinkedIn or something like that, right?
No, we do the messaging automatically, but it's just like we're not an inbox.
We're not an inbox.
We're like a self-prospecting tool. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
You mentioned that when you're launching in a crowded marketplace, you need to have a differentiator. And it sounds to me like that differentiator here is the ability to pull in LinkedIn messages. Would you say that that is the key differentiator?
Yeah, definitely. Because I know like so many founders and, you know, like salespeople who are really struggling, you know, to connect. First things first is like, whenever you have LinkedIn, whether you have normal LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, how do you push your messages to your CRM? There is like very few like ways to do that. It's like LinkedIn doesn't have a native integration with CRMs. Like it's kind of a mess, or if they have, they are very limited. So if you build something on top of it, you are flexible in doing whatever you want. And if you put all your messages into one shared inbox, at least, you know, you can label emails, you can put people, like handle your inbox the way you would usually handle it, but from a much cleaner interface. Because on LinkedIn, you know, you don't have even, you know, like on G Suite, for example, you have like very small features, but that are quite cool. So for example, seeing that whenever you sent a message to someone and that he didn't reply or she didn't reply in the last 5 days, they're just going to put it at the top of your inbox. It's those type of things are like simple things, but it's important, you know, like to know when to follow up, to know when to do this type of things. And LinkedIn doesn't offer that. You could have also like a bit more tracking. So directly implemented into the inbox, knowing when people, you know, like what Mail Tracker is doing, for example. It's this kind of like an old Chrome extension where it's very simple. You have two tick. One tick when the email has been sent, and a second tick when the email has been opened. And it's very clean on the Gmail interface. It's on top of it. And you could build exactly the same thing where you have centralized inbox and where you can see all those nice features on top of the inbox, just to make it like easy for people to have like multi-channel conversation, search for it, and don't lose any information.
So let's talk about getting our hands dirty, getting started. You know, we talked about kind of the strategic side of things, you know, do something with LinkedIn, and that's going to be your strategic advantage. Tactically, if I want to get started tomorrow, what are my first steps? Do I build some sort of like a visual representation of what this is and start pre-selling it? Do I start contacting developers that know how to, you know, mess with LinkedIn and scraping and things like that? Do I incorporate a business? You know, is that really what I need to do first? Do you have any thoughts on first steps?
First things first, I think like building a landing page, it's like, it doesn't take a lot of time. It's cheap, and it's a good way, you know, like to put your ideas into place. So I would start by building a landing page with a clear call to action, which would be something like request access or something like that, where whenever people click, they have like a form to fill in or just their email address, and you can get like more emails of interested people. Then, you know, like obviously having like a small design of what you want is always helpful, especially if you need later on to contact developers, because otherwise they're not going to know how to build it. So you need to think about that first phase. Then once you have that, the idea is, okay, how do I get people to sign up? a quick trick that works well. I mean, there are like, I would say 3 tactics that usually work well for early stage product, or like I would say 4 tactics. First tactics is reach out to your network. Who is in your network have the exact same problem as you? And eventually, like, this is something you should have done before building the landing page to make sure that the problem exists. So, but it exists. So find other entrepreneurs or people with the same issue, ask them to sign up, just make sure that the value proposition is clear, etc., etc., and have them to sign up. The idea here is not to start selling on the big picture and the vision of your multi-channel inbox, is just to sell with the MVP. So the MVP for me would be just put your LinkedIn messages into Gmail, or like have a centralized inbox between Gmail and LinkedIn or something like that. Very basic, one feature, something simple that people can rely to. And it would be like, stop losing your messages in LinkedIn or something like that. Just something that a tagline where people could really rely on to. And afterwards, so once I've got like, I would say like my circle 1 of people like interested and they have like created an account, then I would start, like on groups. So like Facebook group, for example, where my target would be hanging out. So it can be groups with CEOs and founders. It can be groups with salespeople. It can be with group with marketers or people in growth. And then I would start like messaging something like, hey guys, I've just like built this product that is like essentially like an inbox, a shared inbox between like Gmail and LinkedIn. So you don't essentially lose any track of your LinkedIn messages. If you're interested, please comment below me and I'll reach out. And you can say, add a bit of scarcity if you want in your messages, saying like, I only have like 25 invite left for beta or something like that. And then, like the more people comment, the more people are going to see the post, and the more people see the post, the more other people comment. From there, you can reach out. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's yeah. I think it's a good time to cut in. We've talked a little bit about some of these steps of some of the. I really appreciate that you're sharing the ones that we're talking about. One thing that I sort of like I can see as a sticking point is the funding aspect of it. Right? It's like how, and you've done this. You've started from 0 and built to 8 million annual revenue. What are you looking for in terms of asking people to pay? What do they get when they pay, and how much are you looking to get for total? Are you pre-selling, right? So that I have a bunch of money, or are you partnering with a developer that's going to work for free? What do you have in terms of suggestions of creating the capital to actually start it, and then have enough capital so I can start developing and actually like launching it for my beta users?
I think this is,
any thoughts on that?
To me, this is basically like the toughest part. So what I would advise is really like to find co-founders. You need to find technical co-founders. Like we started Lemlist with $1,000. So we were 3, we each put like $334, and we started the company from there. But the truth is like I was in charge of the business, marketing, etc., and my co-founders were the tech guys. So we were very complementary. And when you have that, that okay, it's much easier, to start building it from ground, because if you have no technical knowledge and you want to launch a SaaS, it's going to be extremely difficult for you, because you're going to work with freelancers, you're going to have zero idea of what they're doing, if their choice are the right one or the wrong one, etc. So it can be extremely messy. So my first thing is build like obviously like find the technical co-founders. That's like first step, because for a beta, I think I value much more the relationship rather than asking for people to pay. You can ask for people to pay like after a month or 2 if you see that they are sticking to the product. But first, you need to make sure that they stick to the product. And if they were there early, and I'm not, like there is a lot of people saying like, yeah, you should sell before having a product, etc., etc. I'm not a huge fan of this approach. I think it can work in some cases, but in most cases, I think it's better to build long-term relationship with people, being like super transparent, telling them like, okay, this is like a version alpha of the product. It's not there yet. We're not charging you, but we really want a feedback and build a product with you. So this is when, like finding early adopters is the key moment. And by doing so, that's why you need also quite a lot of people, because not everyone will stick. Like some people are just going to be saying like, yeah, it's too early, I'll come back later or whatever. But,
I love that though. That's interesting. You're building, you're thinking about it as you're building a market really of individuals that may have a common interest, and thinking like, even if this business idea doesn't work, I actually can still take these contacts and build something else for them that they need, and again, we've talked about it similarly, like you can pivot, but it's also important to your perspective of, I don't care as much that I'm charging them, then they have a relationship with me and they have something in common. I think that's really interesting insight. I wanted to ask you about
one addendum I wanted to put on here to how long or how much do you think it would cost to build this? You described building the team. Is this like a 3-month project? Is this a 1 year before you start getting profitability? Is this a weekend? I know you're not a developer, but
no, like it's, to be honest, like getting an MVP on this project will, if you have like good developers in-house, it's like a week to 10 days to have an MVP that is like testable, because it's really like easy building a Chrome extension, getting like messages from LinkedIn and put it on top of Google. Like that's not something super like difficult. It's not going to be nice and looking good, etc., but it will be functional. And it's really like, to me, it's a type of project that you can start charging like after 3 months. So on the side to Lemlist, we built like another type of really like small business like this, where we can start from week development, etc. And after 2 months, we were already charging people. And after a year, we were at like $600,000 in revenue. And then we exited the company. But it's to me, it's like those are the type of project where you can get early traction really quickly, because there is also something a bit like viral of this product, because they don't really exist yet, because the problem is quite new. Like if you go like 3 years ago, LinkedIn was not as used as it is right now, Yet the inbox is exactly the same, and they have tons of issues with the search engine, etc., etc. So yeah, to me, it's just a matter, of timing, and yeah, for charging, I think like after 2 months, it's very doable.
The question I wanted to ask was about that relationship with your co-founders, right? You said you had a developer person who was focused on development, and you were focused on, you said more like sales and marketing, right? Yeah. And the third person, what was their focus?
So my two co-founders are a bit older. They are like around like 40 years old, and they are two developers, two brothers. So they grew up coding.
Interesting. And then you just made it equal share, right? You didn't.
Yeah, like 1/3. It's. I mean, like there are like so many books about how many shares should you give to people, etc. For me, it's like I don't give a fuck. We start from zero. We put like $300 each. The project is worth zero at the beginning, so let's make it equal. Otherwise, you start thinking like, yeah, why does this person start having a bit more, like, etc., etc. I think it's not healthy. It's a marriage, It's like,
do you ever feel like in your mind you're holding on to your share? Like, for example, oh my gosh, they're doing a lot of work, and I took a few weekends off, and I have to like, prove that I own that I earned this, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious if you have any experiences in terms of, as you develop these relationships with people and you have your equal shares, kind of how internally you're thinking about, maintaining the work relationship and balancing, either putting in enough, or maybe even putting in too much so that you don't stress yourself out and burn out, things like that.
Yeah, I think, like as soon as you are transparent with your co-founders, and, you start from the beginning communicating on these things. And I think like, it was very clear. I was like very inexperienced. I had a lot of motivation, etc. They were highly experienced, a bit older, with a different lifestyle. So essentially, like, even in the way we decided to pay ourselves initially, it was really about, okay, what's our current lifestyle? How much do people need? Because our goal in the early days was to make the company survive the longest time as possible. So it's like, okay, if one of the co-founders is having like a hard time at home because, like his kids are starving or whatever, obviously like the money you're going to get first out of the company would be for his salary, because you want this to last as long as possible. So it's really about like communicating, and as long as, we're aligned in everything, I think it's fine. Like, I understand that they have different lifestyle. I also understand that the job of a CEO is different from the job of someone working in tech, because it's not the same type of problem. As a CEO, you're going to meet a lot of persons, you're going to do sales, so your time, even though it's like the most valuable thing, it's still time you need to spend with customers, with, prospects, etc. And this is not something you can condense. So usually the CEO works the longest hour, I would say, but I don't mind. It was clear from the beginning, and we were all agreeing on that we have different lifestyle, and we're cool with it.
Wow, that's super useful information. Appreciate that. Chris, I cut you off. What were you gonna interject?
Yeah, I was gonna go into platform risk a little bit here. You called this out as one of the biggest risks of the idea. And if we're talking about launching on LinkedIn, that would be a big issue. Let's say they rolled out improved functionality here and undercut you before you got to profitability or fully got your feet under you. How do you think about that?
Yeah, to me, it's definitely, the biggest risk. And then, you need to think about, okay, LinkedIn has been acquired by Microsoft. What are the changes they have made, in the last years? How quickly can they move? What are the type of things that they are doing? And then you understand that these companies are usually kind of in slow motion mode. So you still have 5 years to develop something super sustainable and eventually even get acquired by them. Microsoft has acquired, for example, Sunrise. Not sure if you remember, it was a calendar app with a really, really nice UX. They acquired at $100 million. 6 months after that, they killed it. But still, the guy, who made it just got an exit of $100 million. But in the end, it's just a matter of, it's a risk. Every time you're building something on a platform, it's a risk. If you're building something on Google, it's also a risk. But eventually, there are always one thing in your business that could kill the company. And then the matter is to your goal is to evaluate, how big is the risk? Am I taking too much risk or not enough? And to me, it seems pretty unlikely that LinkedIn decide to roll out a new inbox feature where the interface would be really, really nice. But that's just maybe me,
Yeah, and this is a limited window
acquisition
for them to go after it, right? Because you're saying that this is something that you could start and get to profitability within 3 months. So it's not like you're devoting years of your life before you actually see a return.
Yeah.
No, another interesting option too is to see if you can develop relationships with actual people that work at LinkedIn. Maybe you can, meet developers or strategic people or whatever, and start working with them. You actually maybe have a little bit of an insider view on what their plans and strategies are, and then in that case, maybe it's very clear to you that that's not what they're working on. You don't want to show your hand too much, because companies like that are known to run off with people's ideas and mimic them. But it could be the case that by even building that relationship, you are more easily acquired if that's your goal.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think it's, as you said, it's just a matter of finding the right balance between what you're showing and what you're actually doing. But yeah.
So I think it's time to wrap up here.
No. I have one more question. I have one more question on behalf of Chris, because Chris is often, he's cushy right now. If he's going to start a business, he wants it to only take him a couple of hours a day. No, a couple of hours a month.
Lazy Chris.
I won't correct you, Ethan. That's fine. You can go with it.
It's just a funny premise. Yeah. But yeah, do you have we already talked about you being the CEO and agreeing that you're going to work a lot, but do you have any opinion on this kind of how much you should be working, how to minimize the amount of time, how to optimize the amount of time you're putting into a project like this up front?
Yeah, I think, for this type of project, obviously, if you want to keep it simple with my idea is even, the LinkedIn inbox directly into Gmail with some cool features. So really MVP can already be a product where you can make really, really good money on it. And so obviously, if you want a product to be if you don't want to spend too much time on a product, make sure that there are not too many development when it comes to features. That is just one feature getting better. And that's what we did with our the company we exited. And by doing this, I was spending on the project maybe like 2 hours per month, and it was making like at that time, it's like around like 40. It went up to like 50K, so $600 ARR. And I was spending just 2 hours on it, and then it's just a matter of, in the first months, obviously I was chatting a lot with customers, but once you know that the need is there, it has been validated, then you can just hire, like someone for support. Then you hire another person for, let's say, like marketing, writing a few articles, making tutorials, etc. And then your role is just like to come in, checking like, how is everything going? Okay, do you need my help on anything? And that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's
Be
awesome.
clear, you said 50K per month on that previous business?
Yeah, it was at 50K MRR, so like $600,000.
I wasn't sure. I didn't hear the K the first time, so I was like, $50 MRR. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a big exit.
It pay my food.
Yeah, exactly. Guillaume, let's talk a little bit about Lemlist. Your mission that you had shared here is to help 1 million entrepreneurs build a profitable business by 2025. Can you tell us a bit about Lemlist and your mission?
Yeah, definitely. So, what I've realized, so prior to Lemlist, I had actually like a lead generation agency where I was helping company like grow, doing like their sales prospecting, etc. And then I was not happy with the tool, so I built like a Lemlist with my 2 co-founders. But the truth is, like, I realized that what was motivating me was not the money or anything like this. It's more about how can I help people succeed and get the same freedom that I have, in my day-to-day life. Because for me, entrepreneurship was just, eye-blowing, like mind-blowing. It's like I come from a family where my parents didn't like, study or anything, didn't have any degree. So they wanted me to become an engineer. I became an engineer. Then, I studied business because I wanted to. But eventually, I was just a pure like school product. So I've got 3 masters. Like it's very like, but in the end, like I only really like was fulfilled in my life when I became an entrepreneur and could do the things I wanted to do. So my goal really is to make sure that I can produce enough content and try to inspire as many people to launch their business, because even though, you're going to have a lot of downs, whenever you have like ups, and if you are like consistent in the work you put, you're always going to succeed. And to do so, it's just about focusing on your clients, focusing on bringing value. And you don't even have, like to try to raise funds, etc. Just go out there, meet people, network with as many people as you can, listen to Run With It to get amazing ideas, and go from there, like really.
Nice. That Run With It
I wasn't
show,
already fanboy.
I've heard of that show. Yeah, I think I'll check it out.
Yeah, check it, Ethan. It's pretty good. There's a guy named Ethan, but his name is weird to spell.
Yeah. It's just
I think it's ETH or something like that. It starts with ETH.
There you go. You're kicked off. You're done. We're done. We're not publishing this episode. It's an inside joke from before we started. But actually, that's really awesome and very inspiring. We appreciate that, what you were sharing as well. And I noticed that you said you appreciated the freedom that you had from entrepreneurship, and it felt to me like, as you kind of went into the details of that, the freedom I have to kind of help people on a larger scale. But we're trying to inspire people with the little bit more sexy parts of entrepreneurship than just helping others. And it's not always the case that people want to talk about their Lamborghini or something like that, or, the big vacation that they took. But is there anything that you feel like the financial freedom that you have at this point has allowed for you that you're really excited about? Something that you could pay for that you weren't able to previously?
Yeah, of course. Like I can buy like a flat in Paris. I can go work from anywhere I want. So for example, this winter, I hate winter. So I'm French, but my mom is Italian. So I love the sun. So every winter I go work like somewhere else. This year I was in Mexico. Last year I was in Bali, running the business remote from day one, even though now we have like offices in Paris. But, it's just a matter of just, like living the life you want. With my co-founders, we were like, the business was scaling too fast, and it was just like too many things to deal with. So we just say, okay, like let's take a step back, relax. So we went for like 10 days in Dubai, just, okay, let's, take some distance from the business, look at what we've accomplished, etc. And I'm happy that we're able to do this type of things. I don't ever think about money again. Like I can do whatever I please, and I enjoy, because helping other people to grow is nice. But I also really love working with my team, making sure that they learn tons of things that later on, they can all become entrepreneurs, launch their business. And this is nice, when you can see the impact you can have on other people's life in a positive way, obviously, it's always rewarding, and this is what I love really about entrepreneurship.
Perfect.
Guillaume,
Thanks.
you remind me of the word earnest. Paul Graham recently wrote a post where one of the things that he looks for most in founders when they are applying to Y Combinator is earnestness. And if you combine that, the other term that he uses is formidable. People who are actually capable of accomplishing these big things. You seem to have that combination. Really enjoyed getting to talk with you here. It's been a pleasure, Guillaume. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Thanks a lot, Ethan. It was great chatting with you too.
Take care.